So when I think about Reiki as a form of resistance, how can we use our presentation and our internal heart light to help the other?
Leadership is a presence, it's not an act.
We're resisting against the othering. Because they're other, I can't help them. As if I'm going to work to soothe myself, I'm going to work to soothe the human that's across from me.
You can always send love. Love is always accessible. Okay, we are live on the internets. Welcome everyone to the Resonant Leader. My name is Marie Deveaux. On this channel, we like to talk about leadership and communication and how real conversations help us create beautiful relationships. If you are new to this channel, please make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know this is wonderful content that you want to see so the internet knows what to serve you up. And today I am beyond excited to be joined by my very, very good friend, Rabiat Arifu, who is, among other things, an oracle, a Reiki healer, a magician in so many ways, and my very, very good friend. And today we are talking about the concept of universal light and the idea of our individual and collective heart lights and how we can use that resonance as a form of resistance. So Rabia, I wanted to maybe start, because I know we were chatting a little bit before this, but for people unfamiliar with Reiki, what are we talking about? And is it magic woo-woo stuff?
Thank you, Marie. I love that. Yes, to all the things, right? Because there is I like to tell people, being submerged in Reiki, it's like getting a hug or stepping out of a pool. It's that feeling of, right? That's how your body feels it. So starting from that place, that feeling of, I've just stepped out of a pool. I'm pleasantly exhausted, but I know that I was held, right, in water. I was hugged, and it makes me feel good. And I know that hug is love. Reiki, which translates to universal light, operates, if you will, on a frequency of love, right? So not to take us too far down the quantum physics world, but the magic that we're currently calling it, it's because quantum physics, or for a lot of us, we don't yet have the words of physics to explain the experience of that light being shown on our bodies, being turned on, our internal flashlight being turned on. We don't have that, right? But we know when we look at a flame, right? The baseline human of us knows when we look at fire, ooh, this is good. This is warm. The baseline human of us knows that when we look at a baby, oh, this is light. This is to be protected. This is sacred.
Yeah.
That's a lot of words to explain what it feels like to embody Reiki. Again, which just translates to universal light.
Universal light. Yeah. Well, I like that it's universal, which means accessible everywhere all the time.
All
right?
the time.
It is a language that needs no translation, right? So, and I love, again, the idea of a baby, or just thinking about the expression of love, which can science really explain love, right? You know it exists, you feel it, but you can't, like, what is the formula for love? And I think people have tried to do that and be like, well, if I do these things, like, someone's going to love me, or, and it is not that. It is a very intuitive thing and a very accessible thing, because everyone has experienced it, hopefully, right?
Right.
So if Reiki is universal light, what does that light do, or what happens when we see ourselves as a conduit for universal light? Like, what's the potential if we all really can leverage or tap into that universal light?
Okay. I love this question. And I love it because of the place that we are in the world today. When we think of the collective of humanity as this people linked in arm, right? And then we think of raising our voices, right? So the sound that we can make as a collective, we know what that sounds like. We know that the visual of people linked arm in arm, what that evokes in us. But we also know that whether or not you've been a part of a choir, or whether or not you stood in the band, in the bleachers and cheered on a team, or stood in opposition to someone else, your heart rate raises, right? Whether you are in a choir, in a band shell, or across from someone yelling at you, your heart rate raises. Regardless of what we call it, excitement or fear, your body responds. The beauty of Reiki is that it allows your body to reset. Or when you're in it, it allows you to be elevated, but it be supported. Right? So when I think about Reiki as a form of resistance, it's saying to those of us that are walking in our day-to-day lives, howsoever we physically present, how can we use our presentation and our internal heart light to help the other? Because the other, it's just like this call that we're on, right? There's the you and the me-ness of it, right? That's the humanity. And in the world that we're in today, how do we show up for our other humans? So there's a lot of layers in this, right? Because it's saying, remember back in the 70s when we had flower power, make love, not war, right? I'm not saying that we're there politically, wherever we land, but I am saying that we knew then the power of love.
Right.
We know now the power of Reiki. I'm sorry, but we know now the energetic of Reiki, right? We've done the physics. We know that much enough that the oscillation of light gives us a view and that we can use that to see better, to see further into the universe. Amongst us as humans, though, the oscillation of light between the you and I, the oscillation of the human heartbeat between you and I, if I am regulated and I open up my Reiki self, I open and I regulate you standing across from me, that becomes how we stand up across from people who are practicing non-favorable human acts.
Behaviors. Yeah. Okay. So you said a few things there that like have me really curious. One is this idea of like being in a crowd and like the energy of people together and how collectively everyone's heart rate goes up, right? Whether that's, and it's interesting, whether that's excitement or fear, because the body does not distinguish, right? It feels the same in the body. There is this natural acceleration that happens. But then you also said there's this piece of when one person is regulated, a regulated nervous system regulates other nervous systems, right? So now it has me thinking, okay, so if we're talking about crowds of people coming together and we're starting to get to this like heightened place, right? There is a way for just one person in that collective to actually change the speed, the pace of everyone around them. And it has me thinking about, when your kids are small and they're having big emotions and you practice co-regulation and you come down with it and you breathe with them and you sometimes you do like forehead to forehead or like skin, right? To have them to feel and come back to themselves and do that nervous system regulation. So the way you're describing this heart light feels like that. Feels like, how could you extend that feeling of like slowly breathing with a toddler to like other, what did you say? People who are practicing unfavorable human behaviors, right? Which I think about like I mean, when people talk about like challenges in their everyday life, a lot of times it's like the annoying person at work, or someone who is being ignorant or obtuse seemingly on purpose just to get you riled up, right? And so it has me thinking about, are these places where we can be extending a heart light? Is that a good use case for like, let me practice how I can show up with this loving light and potentially have like, what I guess my question is like, how what are the use cases for exercising heart light, from the most mundane to like the most imaginative or creative? Like, where can we tap into it?
Yes, I love this. Okay, I love how you made it more narrow, because it is like grocery stores, stoplights,
Mm.
um, post offices,
Mhm.
right? Um, because and the heart light, um, clearly it's not a new phrase, right? But it came about for me when I think of so I lead meditation programs at work. And when I think of working with people who I have no idea who's coming in, and I have no means of communicating with them beyond what they accept me to allow me to do. And so I have to work with things that they already know, right? Because we may or may not meet each other again. Your heart light might be a new phrase for you, but going on an airplane and putting your mask on, even if you've never been on an airplane, you've heard it said in a comedy skit.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
When I think about, so then when they leave the meditation program, I say to them, when you get to the stoplight, do a 30-second drop into your body. It's not a ton of time, especially if you're in the midst of the day. But if all you did was focus on your heart, in that moment, whatever else happens, you're going to be regulated. So that when you go into the grocery store and somebody, I don't know, cuts across you or reaches over you, you're able to take a deep breath in, just relax, right? Even if all we did was put a smile on our faces, that person, they feel the shift. They may ignore it, they may respond and look at you oddly, but they will feel the shift.
So is that Reiki?
Yes and no, right? Because Reiki says I, as a practitioner, can hold that space for other people. But it also says you, as an individual, can hold that space for yourself.
So this is interesting because I love the example of like driving, because driving is
Mm-hmm.
stressful and agitating and irritating. Um, and just like this morning, I was in the car with my husband, we're driving, and he's getting angry. He's getting angry. And then we cut into like the subdivision. And as we're like driving the subdivision, there's an older woman who's just walking, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she's not facing us. She's like walking in the same way. She's like a little bit ahead of us, but she hears the car. And so she turns around and she just smiles and waves.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole demeanor changed. He's like, oh, she she just turned around just to wave at us. She heard us coming and she turned around just to wave at us. And so I'm wondering, like, are those moments where like that small act of like humanity shifted his whole demeanor? Is that Reiki?
Yes. And, right? Because as a Reiki practitioner, I'm attuned and I can move, manipulate light. But just because the person doesn't have the title, just because we don't call them
Mhm.
scientists, we
Mhm.
know that when a mom puts baking soda and
Right. And the
vinegar
vinegar,
together,
this is going to
she's trying to
happen.
do something,
Right. Right.
right? It's not science, but it is.
Mhm.
She's
Mhm.
using it to accomplish a goal, right?
Mhm.
That same smile, whether or not he even saw her, energetically,
Right.
it's a bubble around her, right?
Yeah.
So to go back to that original analogy, are these things Reiki? We may not call them that, but we know what we feel when we feel it,
Right.
right? We know that, right? We've all been taught, if you've worked in corporate America, an attitude shifts the room. An attitude walking into the room is that Reiki? Right? When you're on a phone on a corporate call, on a customer service call, and you just have a smile in your voice.
It changes. Yeah, people feel it. That's what they tell salespeople. Smile, smile. They can't see you, but they can feel it.
Yeah, hello, 20 years teaching sales training.
Yeah, like people feel it. Yeah. And again, like, you could try to find the science, but we know it's real.
Right. And so the movement for me between, right, my career over years, the logical leap was I'm practicing this energy work. I have this history from my former lives. I can see the correlation. Even if the language doesn't exist, I can at least articulate, I can describe it, I can articulate what it feels like until the language catches up, right? The thing, especially for we as, and I'm going to be gendered here, the feminine heart, the feminine brain, right? It moves on a different vibration. There's a subtle difference, right? That difference, if you flex it with the intention of not necessarily being in a caregiver mode, but being in a everybody settle down. Now, how do we move forward? Right? We call that leadership. Right? I walk into the room, I take a deep breath, everybody turns, they're like, huh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I'm just reckoning like leadership is a presence, it's not an act.
Yeah.
Right. And so to come from a place that is regulated and offers people that feeling as though you can feel the smile, you can feel the care. It's the wave, right? Yeah.
Which is why it's a form of resistance, because the world that we live in today is giving us so much that drags us down.
Yeah. Well, I want to double click on this because I know, before we hopped on, I was like, well, people say a lot of things are resistance. When Trisha Hersey and the NAP ministry first came out in the early 2020s, and everyone was like, oh, rest is resistance, rest is resistance. And now I'm seeing more and more people saying rest is not resistance, rest is rest, and resistance is resistance. But this idea that your resistance does not have to be physically combative, I think is something that people maybe struggle with. Like, how could it be resistance if there's no this, right? Resistance for many means tension. And so I'm curious, how do you think about healing as a form of resistance?
Okay, I'm trying to find the words for this. And Still I Rise is one of my favorite poems.
Okay.
Right. And I'm going to butcher the lines, but regardless of how they put me down, regardless of the fight that I fight, still I rise. For me to rise, I have to do the work within myself. Physical, emotional, whatever those things are. I've got to work to heal myself. If I'm doing that work and I still come back, right? That is finding that thing within them.
Yeah. Well, this reminds, a couple of weeks ago, I had Dr. Chanel and I had a conversation, and she was talking all about resilience and the fact that, and I asked her, is all pain useful? And she responded, all pain can be used. I'm like, oh, Dr. Chanel. But this idea that when someone else's goal is to kill you, survival is resistance. right? Like if that's the fight, if that's their goal, you doing the counter goal is resistance, which again, like in that vein, if the goal of capitalism is to keep you tired and overburdened and working, then rest is a resistance to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now if we think about resonance as a form of resistance, what is the counter? What is the goal that we are in opposition to? If we're choosing resonance, if we're choosing heart light, if we're choosing love, what are we resisting?
Wow. What are we resisting as we choose to center light and life? Well, depending on where your viewers are watching from, they are I would say that they're resisting that thing that would dim them, right? That dims us all, writ large and writ small. Because I think that, and again, this is part of the reason why I think I started this as a thought form. It's that if I'm going to continue to get up, I have to do my work on myself. Because honestly, I'm looking at anything that's opposing me as what I'm working against. Whether that be even in denying someone else's humanity. Okay, I'm working against that.
Well, I think, that part of there is so much in the world that would have us look at other humans as not. That would have us bamboozled into believing that our fellow man is not. That would have us separate and divided and thinking that we are each other's enemies. And so when we choose love and choose to extend love, regardless of how all the humans are showing up, because we know they got some crazy behaviors. But if we choose love, that is actually resisting this idea that we have lost our humanity.
That part. And again, and it seems almost selfish how I've positioned this, but it also works to the human thought of, well, why would I help them? Well, who are they? I have to justify that. Are they worthy of help? What did they do? What's the backstory? Rather, if I'm okay, I'm going to send out light so that everybody else is okay. I'm going to send out light so that everybody can be healed. I'm going to send out light so that the truth can be seen, right? I'm just, because I'm triggered, right? I'm seeing this thing, I'm hearing this thing, and it's got me responding emotionally. Rather than just keep my healing, I'm just going to soothe myself. I'm going to soothe myself and then send that energy out to humanity. Right? Therein lies because as a Reiki practitioner, when I do work for someone else, I'm getting the back end of their energy, right? We're both awash in that energy. So if I'm seeing something that is unsettling me and I look to soothe myself, then it's on me as a human in this world today. And that's the charge I think I've been trying to find words for. It is on us as humans today to stand up in a way that says, if I'm going to work to soothe myself, I'm going to work to soothe the human that's across from me.
Yeah. Well, it's this idea, right? Like that the idea of self has to be a little bit more expansive than an individual.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're working on that, right? And so to tell people that is to give them too many leaps. Not that they're not capable, but we've not been socialized that way. We think in terms of I, family, extended family, community. But I don't know that when I go outside to the grocery store. I don't know that when I walk into the post office. I don't know that when I walk into the library. But I know this person is a part of the human race. So therefore they're a part of the community.
Right. Well, not even just part of the community, but they are part of me. Right.
You're taking leaps.
Right. Well, because this idea of like to be able to extend, I keep getting this visual of like a bubble of like warm light. right? And I think about like when you're triggered and you're having big feel, like when I'm having big feelings myself, and I'm like, okay, like, and I notice, right, that that's what's happening, and come
Mm-hmm.
back to myself and like start to calm down and regulate my nervous system, whether that's breathing or like, let me like find something to focus on or drinking some water, whatever it is. But it starts to create like this settling, grounding sensation, right? And so just thinking of like how much can you expand that sensation,
Right.
right? Which I imagine, and I have no idea what Reiki training is or like what that would entail, but I imagine it's a practice of how to work with and expand that
The
experience.
circle of light that we all are walking in already. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because to simplify it, right? I am aware of the energy that I'm existing in. You're aware of it as well when you're either with someone that you love or someone that you don't like. You're aware of the energy around you. As a practitioner, I'm aware of it in a more everyday way. And so expanding that, you see your loved one across the room, you can send them a heartbeat and they'll feel it, right?
I feel like someone should make a movie. So you know how you know that movie with the emotions, the Inside Out movie?
Yes.
They should make a movie like that, but Reiki. So people just walking around and you can just see the energy, be like, ooh, bad energy. Like, and you can see it, right? But I imagine that's like what walking through the world as a practitioner in Reiki is like, of being really attuned to like
Really
all
attuned.
of those pieces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then now, right, and this is that next step, it's using it to help the other, even if you don't know them. Therein lies the resistance. Back to your last question. What are we resisting against? We're resisting against the othering. Because they're other, I can't help them. I don't know them. We're just saying, make your heart beam that much wider.
This feels very Buddhist.
Oh.
Like very universal love for humanity. Very like I think the first time I really understood Buddhism as a way of living life, not as a religion, but as like a way of living life, right?
Yes.
I had one of my roommates in New York was a Buddhist, and I was like, "You're a Buddhist?" And she was like, "Yeah." And she gave me a book. She's like, "Read this book." But I read the book, and I'm reading the book like on the subway, and I had this revelation. I had like this moment where all of a sudden I could look across at a stranger on the subway and feel an immense sense of love for a stranger on the subway. And I'm like, what is going on? But that's what, as you're talking about, I'm like, oh, it's like that. It's like being able to really feel love for other people, regardless of your personal relationship with them, because that's not actually
exactly
the point of love.
the
Right.
point of love.
So it feels like that, like being able to walk through the world and extend love to everyone.
To everyone. And again, that next step is when you see the unfair, I'm trying to find the right words.
Say it messy, Robbie.
When you see mess in the world, even if you can't physically do the thing, right, you can still reach out your heart light.
Right. You can still send
can
love.
Still
you can always send love. Love is always accessible.
And like I tell people, this is going to sound like, you know me, I like this stuff. The flaming swords of the angels provide both light and, they'll slice you in two.
Right. And an ass whooping.
Right? Nice.
I mean, you don't have to be nice. We on YouTube. It's the Wild West. We can say things.
Trouble. But really, it's that, right? It's that sense of how do I speak softly, carry a big stick.
Right.
Right? That love can be heavy. It can be a lot. You can see it across the street, right? Because I'm really thinking those cases of like ICE people. Really, that's part of what the genesis of this was seeing ice in the world and realizing you don't know what state this is going to show up in for you. You don't know where this is going to show up for you. So what do you do? What do you do as someone who's presenting in this way?
So when you see ice, you extend your heart light
to the person, to the person who's being apprehended.
Yeah, but
because
see, now things just got real. Because
Mhm.
now I'm like,
Mhm.
but what about the person who is masked and who is doing this heinous act to their fellow human? Like, is there
I
love
have
there? Because
never
that's a person too,
That's a
right?
person too, right. I have never been a proponent of nonviolent action. This is as close as I can probably get to it because this is nonviolent action, right?
Right, right.
Because yes, that person who's masked, who is operating in fear, which is how they got to where they are, who are now weaponizing that fear, are being counterbalanced by me standing there
I
and just
see.
emanating love. Because if
Yeah,
nothing else,
but one of the first things you said was like the fear, the excitement, all of that elevation, it all feels the same. And so if we're regulated and we can extend out to that person who is operating from a place of fear, then we can also bring them back down, right? So I'm like, yes, absolutely, for the person being apprehended, accosted, violated, absolutely. Like that person is in fear of their life. But
right,
also this other person who is doing that violent act is also acting from fear, from a different place.
different place. Right. And if nothing else, if all they do is go home and think to themselves, right? Because the city that I'm in, this was the place of the counters, right? Where people sat at the
Mhm,
counter. They
mhm.
received the violence that was poured upon them. And then those other people went home. And we
Right.
can only hope that in the years that passed on, that some of those people found a change of heart.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's a tall order.
I'm
Exactly.
I'm I'm finding myself feeling distressed. So I'm like, people ask, are you Martin or Malcolm? I'm like, I lean more Malcolm. But that's our time. Heart light. Yes, we can extend love whatever possible. We can keep practicing what that looks like, whether that's at the grocery store or out in the street defending our neighbors. I just there's so much more we could talk about. But that is our time for today, internets. This has been an episode of The Resonant Leader. If you have not already, please like and subscribe to the channel. This is a way to get important ideas out in the universe. And so please, please do that, do your part. It's one way that you can show love and it doesn't cost you anything because love is free. Love is free. Also, I would love to hear what resonated for you if you're listening in, if you watch this, if you're watching the replay and you're like, oh, this had me think things, it had me feel things. I want to know about it. So if something resonated, please, please drop a comment. Let us know. Are you going to be practicing extending your heart light? Do you think you can show love for ICE officials in your neighborhood? Is there a way for you to take more healing breaths so you don't get road rage? Whatever it is, please let us know. We want to know all those things. And of course, Rabiat and I are real people out in the world. If you want to continue these conversations with us, you could do that. You could do that. So please, please, we will leave Rabiat's information in the show notes. You can find her on the internet. And we hope you enjoyed this conversation. That is all for now. We will see you next week on The Resonant Leader. Thanks and goodbye.